Well, one thing that's very important, which is the most annoying thing we could probably say to you really, is to have absolutely no fear and no hesitation within in terms of wondering whether or not the universe is going to be able to provide that prosperity that you need to sustain your life, expression and work. And what we would say to you is this. In our perception, whenever you are truly working in the direction of your life's work, the universe will provide, but not just the universe, because that sounds almost a bit abstract. The higher self is able to have a direct alignment with you, to empower you in any area that is necessary, including your sustenance and prosperity. And what we would say to you in that regard is this, which is not so much, it's not that you're creating the work to alleviate a fear of the money. It's a matter of being able to, when you're creating the work, to behold that work and see that work as a system of nurturing you and all these other peoples on all levels of your need, of genuine need, which includes abundance. And we're not talking about gratuitous abundance, but we're talking about the abundance which will enable you to have the strength and the space and the fortitude to be able to realize your visions. Now, in terms of money, we believe that you'll find that it actually is an energy that is drawn into the life experience. You would think perhaps, or at least perhaps want to think from the heart, it's very much from the throat and third eye, and in between that space. Very much throat, spirit, moon, and third eye. In our perceptions, what determines that? And there's a reason for it. Because money is a very direct and specific reference point in the universe. And as an energy, it's a very specifically structured energy. In other words, in each culture, there's a direct and specific resonance for the energy of money. So in your American culture, your country's culture, very direct resonance for it. It would be wonderful if that resonance was the same all around the world, but it's not. So you work within the space that you're living in. Now, if you should leave your country, let's say you're in another country, you would want to align with that resonance of money. So when you're in this space, for example, we've never talked about it like this before. We haven't really had a chance to talk too much about abundance with the people. But if you were going to try to do a healing, and you knew that the healing was necessary to draw upon the power of the Holy Spirit, well, you have a direct reference that you can energetically connect. Do you know what we mean to the Holy Spirit? You can go right to it. It's a feeling, it's an awareness, but it's born in your perception. It's born in your vision. Personal vision is not just something that's a visual image, it's also felt in the heart. So then you watch the same people and see what happens when it comes to money. When it comes to money, it's more of an abstract. All they know is they need money to live by, but they don't know how to quite connect with it. If they did, of course, they wouldn't be in that situation in the first place. So part of the key is you want to begin to feel the resonance of money, quite literally. And you can do it in the most mundane ways. You can simply hold money. When you're beginning, in particular, when money is being exchanged, feel the vibration and the resonance. When you give money to another, but also feel it when that person gives money to you. Then try it in terms of giving a service to another. And feel that resonance, that offering of a service, or a gift, and vice versa. Begin to be attuned to the difference in the vibration, because it is different. Because the point is that you can take very non-spiritual based peoples of your culture who are just wonderfully adept at drawing in money. And you might say to yourself, why is it that the universe is so eager to help these people and not ourselves? But it's really not quite that way. Because that which you would understand as that prosperity potential of the universe, or presence within the universe, is there for all. It is not restrictive. In other words, it doesn't judge and say, all right, you are now worthy, therefore you can have money. Mm-hmm. You can look at the world around you and see very clearly it simply doesn't work that way. But what happens is, watch the people who have versus the people who do not. One thing that happens is the people who do not have it are filled with so much worry, mm-hmm. so much anguish in terms of the mental plane reference, stored within the solar plexus as a seat of emotion, connected to that mental plane working, that the energies that would normally be utilized between the third and the third eye are powerfully worked on creating the most enormously complex knots of energy you can imagine. So what you want to do is, first of all, notice that these people have to have one thing, and that is an absolute determination, where they believe in themselves that they can achieve it, and that nothing is going to be able to stop them. Now they might look at that they may come to that conclusion in a very unspiritual way, but nevertheless that's what their consciousness is based upon. The next thing then that you'll see is they begin to see, when they see the world around them, they can connect anything to money. Now you might think it's a bit annoying at first, because value, it's almost like, you know, that show for your television of The Price is Right. Oh, yes. There's always that, you behold something and then they see, oh, the value of this. Or they can see something that's very beautiful, that you can have great personal value with, but they can say, oh, how lacking in any kind of real value, monetarily speaking, and so forth. And they might have an opportunity to have the Sacred Heart or a block of gold, and they'll go for the block of gold. But it's important that you recognize why they're able to do that, because they're always looking for the vibration, the connecting resonance of money to an object, or to an enterprise, or whatever. And what's important to know is that not only do they recognize it, but they continually are drawing it in. Now obviously what happens with a lot of these people, these spiritual people, are a guilt. That if they were to try to specifically draw on that resonance, that's egocentric, or that's very self-centered, and however you want to look at it. And actually then what happens is, they have to still draw in the service, and just believe if they draw on that service that the universe will provide. Well, the answer is somewhere between the two, because you want to be able, just as if you're working with crystals, let's say if you're working with crystals as a healer, well, obviously you don't have to do all of your crystals with all your healing with one particular kind of a crystal. Now money is not going to equate with a quartz crystal containing all the colours of the spectrum. It's a very specific crystalline composition if you're going to relate it that way. So let's say that you align that with a given crystal. Well, obviously all of your light work can't come about through that, but you can incorporate it as an integral part of your light work. You see? So what you want to be able to do is this. You have to bring in that resonance into harmony and integrate it within the space of your continual reference. And if you put all the spiritual beings that you work with in one space and money down here in another, it's not going to work, because so much of your energies from your heart are connecting to those beings. They're not connecting down there. You see? So what happens is this. In spiritual worlds, of course, as you would understand, there is really no hierarchy in terms of perception. You can view it with a hierarchy which helps you understand how to connect with it, how to flow with its vibration and consciousness. But judging something better, or one space better than another, or more evolved than another, no. It's really not. When you get to the really high spiritual beings, that's not. See, we're saying that to be able to communicate. But that's not their perception. In other words, when you're in the space of the kingdom, it doesn't feel like you're in this high exalted space.
Right.
Everything is on that equal level with the kingdom.
Right.
In fact, you would behold the kingdom much more in the center of creation than you would view it on the top of it. You see? So what you'd want to begin to do then is work on creating a personal vision and the resonance that comes to it. A line not just third eye out, but third eye and heart coming together, sort of on an angle like this. So this is more of a straight line for you. And see a clear quartz containing all the colours of the spectrum, and all, therefore all the rays of manifestation. And remember, the resonance of money, just as in anything else, must be within those 7 rays of creation. You have to be able to touch within the 7 rays. And what can align you to those 7 rays very powerfully is a working of the bringing in of all the elements of your system. In other words, the more fragmented your system is, the more difficult it is to draw in specific references from the world around you, not necessarily the spiritual world, through the elementals. Remember, your life expression is created through and emerging through the elementals. Your whole composition is through the elemental forces, and when you leave the life expression, no matter how you leave, it's through the elemental forces. So what you want to keep in mind in that regard is you want to bring a harmony about first of all that, because that's your foundation that you're working on. In other words, if you're trying to work with light, work with resonance, you want to have a beautiful foundation for it to be directly drawn into with harmony, not the discord. And then the next thing that you want to do is you want to begin to see money in new ways and have it born between this space here and be able to weave it energetically through the existing personal vision or visions that you already have for yourself, and you're weaving that resonance through it and being able to see how it's not that you're trying to bring something that's just neutral into it, but something of a great resonance. Because there's so much invested in money, but all of that's invested in money is not a negative. There's a lot of what money can do, what it can achieve, and that's the focus that you want to have. In other words, you want to be able to look at money, connect into its resonance, and don't just take the resonance just the way it is, because that's going to be everything. Heal of it first for the planet. First start with your country's culture, and then move to the planet, and then take in that money, that resonance back in to the fabric of your personal vision, and weave it through. So start with your country, the planet, go back to the country and weave that in first. And the country that you were in at that time. And weave that through that space. And pay attention to how often, try to take note of, even if you have to write it down, so that you see it in the morning or something like that before you start your day. To always draw in from the heart through asking for that particular resonance, but draw it in. Don't ask in the abstract. Understand that you are an instrument of God when you surrender your personal will to the greater will of the God, which is really a part of your life's work. And as an instrument of God, you are trying to direct the energies through your being. You're trying to let the will of God be directed through you. The God force be directed through you for all creation. Well, any resonance is a part of that God force. And that includes money. Don't separate yourself energetically from that which we're trying very strongly and rightfully so to draw into your own life experience.